Hey VC, friends, fellow music lovers, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Survivor. This is where I pull 5 new to me albums from my inbox, clean them up, give them a listen, and I let you know what I thought of them and let you know whether they will be going in my collection or not. So first things first, let's get started with a drink here. I'm actually drinking a Brooklyn Winter Ale today, even though it is almost summer solstice here. I caught these on clearance at my local whole grocery store, Whole Foods, not Whole Foods, but sort of a Whole Foods-like grocery store, organic grocery store. They had these on clearance, $3.99 for a 6-pack, and I couldn't pass that up. This is a black ale. I guess, yeah, just a black ale. It's not a real hoppy black ale, but it does have a nice sort of roasty flavor, but not as heavy as, say, a stout or a porter. So, you know, it's out of date, it's out of season, but this is not the kind of beer that really gets that bad being a month or so out of date. So there's $3.99 for a 6-pack. That's a steal in my book. So, 65-70 cents for a bottle. Great deal. And it's good beer. Brooklyn makes good beers. So, getting into this episode of the Vinyl Survivor. First thing we have here is the one and only album from the group Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, hip-hop group formed in the mid-'80s. This album was released in '85. These two guys were originally in the Harlem World crew, and they sort of left and formed this group, the Champagne of Rap. They sort of were early people to do sort of a more, sort of a very classy, very upscale sort of, almost rich, almost like a Jay-Z kind of thing, where he's just this really rich sort of mogul that is also a rapper, and they sort of rap about rich people stuff, which at this time was not something that was typically done, but that was their idea here. They sort of broke ground on this, and this was their one and only release. Didn't really do real well for them. I guess it was sort of ahead of its time. People didn't really relate to it or anything. So yeah, overall, I enjoy listening to this, but it's another thing where I don't think I will want to revisit this in the future. So it's not going to be going in my collection, yeah. And people have commented that because my collection is so large that I have to be very picky about what goes in, and that is very, very true. I'm getting to the point where it's kind of overwhelming, and I really need to be really strict about what I keep. So yeah, something has to be something that I'm certain in the future I'm going to want to hear this again. So that's basically my criteria for keeping an album is, yeah, I'm definitely going to want to hear this again. But for this one, definitely not. I don't think I'd want to hear this again. So anyway, before I ramble on too much longer, this is on Profile Records. Certainly a very well-known record label for 80s hip-hop groups, Alright, next up, staying in the hip-hop genre, next up we have a 12-inch single from LL Cool J. This is the 12-inch single for Around the Way Girl. Comes from the album Mama Said Knock You Out, and this has 5 different versions of Around the Way Girl. Not too much needs to be said about this. I'm sure most of you have at least heard this song in the past. This is on Def Jam Records and Master Disc and the Dead Wax mastering. And yeah, this is another one I don't think I'm going to be keeping. It was interesting to hear the different mixes of this song. None of them were like mind-blowing or anything. I tend to like to listen to the original version, which I already have. So I don't need to keep this one, but it was like I said, it was interesting to hear a couple different mixes of it. So that's LL Cool J, Around the Way Girl 12-inch. Another one not making it in the collection. Okay, next up on the chopping block we have a Record Store Day release. This is a Record Store Day release from the Casket Girls. And the Casket Girls are a trio from Savannah, Georgia, made up by Ryan Graveface, who is from Black Moth Super Rainbow, and then it's also with 2 sisters, Elsa and Phaedra Green, and they sort of do a harmonizing thing, and Ryan Graveface does electronic music with them, and it's sort of a trio, and that's he does the music, and they do the lyrics and singing. Very, very interesting sound, very unique sound. This one's a little more this is an EP. Don't think it has a title. Go ahead and show you the back here. Insert with it from Graveface Records, and it's sort of a one-sided EP on this egg yellow, sort of egg yolk yellow vinyl, and then the back side is etched. It shows up pretty good there. You can kind of see that. So yeah, as I said, very sort of fuzzy electronic, not dance music electronic, but just very fuzzy electronic music with these two girls harmonizing over it. It's a very interesting, very summery sound. If you like things like Beach House, this is sort of maybe more of a hardcore version of Beach House. But yeah, this one is definitely going in the collection. I love the Casket Girls. I have their debut album. It's really great, and I really enjoyed this. This is even a little more darker and fuzzier than their debut album. And this was a record store day release. I don't know how many they made of this, but really nice piece, and I'm glad to have this in my collection. Okay, next up we have, changing gears here again, we have an album from a Chicano rock group from the 80s. This is titled, the band is titled Cruzados. This is their second album, their second and final album, called After Dark, from 1987. And apparently Cruzados formed out of originally were from a band called The Plugs, which was a punk band. And this does sort of have a punk feel, a very crunchy sort of feel to it. Not really my thing, as you might know. Was an interesting listen. Had a really tough time listening to this, actually. It was interesting to hear, but just not my kind of music at all. And this is on Arista Records. And we have TML-M on both sides. These are cut on the master lathe at the Mastering Lab in LA. I'm thinking maybe this was pressed in a low quantity, so they might have only made one master of this to begin with. So that they may all be that. This is an A1. This has A1 scratched in the dead wax as well, so it was probably the first one cut on the master lathe, and that might have been the only one they did. This may have been pressed in the tens of thousands, maybe, you know, not a huge run. So yeah, not really too much I can say about this. I didn't like it. It was, you know, just not my kind of music. Too edgy, too noisy, and it's just difficult for me to get past that sometimes when it's just screeching guitars and screaming lyrics, and it's difficult for me. So I didn't like this one either. Seems like I'm not liking a lot of things lately, but some of the episodes coming up will have some stuff I really liked a lot. So, but anyway, the last album we have for today is a live album from the band Supertramp. This is their live album called Paris. I believe this was released in 1984. I'm totally off. This is from 1980. I don't know where I'm getting 84 from. And this is a live album done right after. Well, it's done on the Breakfast in America tour, so you have all of the past Supertramp great albums along with the new stuff, Breakfast in America, which was a huge success for them, probably their most successful album. So you get, you know, great stuff from Crime of the Century on here, and just great live versions of Supertramp. Show you the gatefold. You get School, Logical Song, Bloody Well Right, Breakfast in America, Hide in Your Shell, Dreamer, Rudy, Asylum, Take the Long Way Home, and it closes with Crime of the Century, of course. Probably my favorite Supertramp song of all time. And this is on A&M Records, but it does have a custom label. Pretty cool. It's a 2-album set, as most live albums are. Plenty of music. I'm missing the original inner sleeve for the first disc, but here is the second one. Some cool live photography. I do have another copy of this in the inbox that I need to try to dig out, and I think it might be in better shape than this one. But yeah, really cool live concert, really well recorded, has a good sound to it. It's just the right amount of live ambiance to it, where it's not too live, it's not too sterile sounding. It has a really good mix for a live concert. It really feels like you're there. So if you like Supertramp and you want to have a good live album, this is a very good live album from them. So I want to thank you for watching another episode of the Vinyl Survivor. 3 here that are getting voted off the island. 2 made it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.